I have one more question that sort of concerns me. With a lot of semiotics that we have, the concern with the organization of science, and oftentimes what you have to do is really to break it down into some kind of constituent element as well, in order to get a sense of the organization. But if we take a kind of a Gestalt approach to it, then it never adds up to the sum of its parts, if you analyze a text or a picture or what have you. So inevitably, perhaps that kind of an approach is doomed to failure, but perhaps that's not interesting. What's important is to figure out what additional work that a semiotician has to do in order to complete the analysis, because if you use a kind of a semiotic approach, perhaps you never get to the totality.
No, sure. But this is the problem of the hermeneutic circle. There is no totality you can join. But at the same time, there is a constant transformation. This is the reason because I like so much the artistic or poetic text, because coming back to the artistic text, you find always more than the memory of what is described in the text itself. Sure, the hermeneutic work is an endless work. There is no possibility of totality. But in the same time, I tried to say like before, that you complete. When you say complete, this I say that you are open-ending the text, and you complete the text by interpretation. They assume that every interpretation is an execution, in the sense you execute music, or you transform the script in a movie, or in the theater. Everything is always different. The idea that the text is a system, a closed system of sign, is not the way. At the same time, what is true, and probably here I have to respond to your question about I escaped all the time about the construction. It's true that the text is not just an endless possibility of interpretation. You can see everything. If you can see everything, you can see nothing. If you can say everything, you can say nothing. It's exactly the same. And the problem is the problem for me, that is problem also for other people. Look at Eco, nasty polemics against deconstructionism. Eco has the same problem. For example, he starts from the idea of opera aperta. Well, open work. You can give any interpretation of an open work. Well, suppose that it is in this way. You can do it everything, changing time, changing your habits, and so on. Why not? Unfortunately, you discover very fast that is not that the opera, the text, construct some interpretation. For example, people in the United States are very attentive to the idea of Peirce of infinite interpretation of signs. A sign points to another sign, it's interpreted by another sign, so on and so on and so on. This is a crucial question, but at the same time, if everything is possible to say, you don't need explanation, you don't need semiotics, you just say it. How is it possible, in the same time, to keep in touch with the structure of the text, and in the same time, to the not infinite, but the open point interpretation? This is the challenge. Eco accused, for example, people working in Derrida direction, that they can say everything. But at the same time, he used also the idea of infinite interpretation and open work. This is a difficult contradiction for him, and he's standing in a very difficult way. But I think we are all the same problem, how it's possible at the same time to discover not the rules, the concept is too strong, but the constraints, the strictures of a certain kind of organization of text, and at the same time to keep in touch with the open quality of the interpretation. But I think This is what I called some months ago, the idea of entering in the hermeneutic circle with a good foot, in the right moment. This is not a problem that you can solve in an ontological way, in a transcendental feature. You have to. It's a decision you have to take. It's an approach you have to choose. And semiotics is not at all a closed system, in my opinion. It's a very open-ended work. I say open-ended, and I think that the problem is the image I have of semiotics is really dull, open-ended, At the same time, instrument of closing, instrument of opening, instrument of communication, and the stopping communication. When you have, when you are inside a paradigm research, and someone makes a very acute remark, the fact that the remark is acute is not enough. Because we have to translate the remarks in a pertinent concept that are coherent to what you are doing. Without that, you change fashions. You say, well, no more fashions. Or say, no more Latin, no more Foucault, no more Derrida. And you can do it, no more Eco, no more Jacobson, no more Grimans. But I'm not sure that is a good way to do it. I don't like the supermarket approach. My idea is that when we have to be attentive when an acute remark, when a strong opposition is made, to think what kind of ticket of invitation you can send written in your language to the new concept for the translation of the concept in your own problems, for transforming your paradigm. It's not just the idea to add a new entry in your bibliography or make a dramatic Christian conversion in the St. Paul style, falling from the horse and immersed in new light or paradigm. I don't believe in that. From this point of view, I am very Eco made always this gesture for me. The idea that I follow always the same line.
There's one final question, perhaps, and that has to do with ideology and the way that ideology is inscribed in all of these texts. And how do you begin to kind of tackle that issue and perhaps disengage ideology, or even can disengage ideology from a text and identify and supposedly ideology would also arrange the text in particular ways.
Well, this is a very crucial problem because, the success of semiotics was a false promise, and probably semiotics is a victim of this false promise, is the idea to be a science of an ideology. It was very clearly said by Barth in the early 60s and the end of 50s in the Brezhnev and so on. Barth was a Brechtian. His fundamental feature is the idea of disveiling the world, which is absolutely a Brechtian idea. The idea of Barth was this one. If you find a discipline, not necessarily science, able to make a friction on the ideological text in which the bourgeois thinking, in the same time, display and conceal his own ideology, well, this discipline of the science will be the new discipline in the science. That was for the reason of the success of semiotics in this period. A sort of science of able to discover the débris of things, a sort of nude truth, erasing the ideological work. This also was in this period, before I come, the reason because Marcuse and other people thought about psychoanalysis as a sort of a treatment which are able to inverse the distortion of censorship on desire. Well, re-establishing the good relationship between the good object and the good desire. Well, we work very seriously with this hypothesis, and I assure you, not just for the intellectual point of view, also in this period with the political forces which are supposed to go in this direction. And the crisis of this hypothesis is a crisis not only of internal crisis, but also the crisis of the scope of this project, which was also a social, political project, not just another product in the university supermarket. Well, from a point of view, the crisis of the socialist model, I have not explained. And from another point of view, the idea that truth, zero degree, is never been achieved, will never be achieved. And what you are managing are discursive formations, I'm speaking Foucaultian terms. And you have to just to manage discursive formation without possibility to decide that there is an outside as sex, economy, I don't know, permitting you an exterior position from which you look at the reality, you look at the text, as a good, intelligent professor, left-wing, open-minded, and so on and so on, you look at the text, you open the veil, and you show that the true ideology of the text itself. Name or what position? What's your position? This was 68 question. And during the 70s, the crisis was really this problem in Scandal model. The crisis was there is no more scientific Marxism, economic, sexual condition, which permits to a value-free group or a group speaking the name of the party to say, this is that, this is the ideology of the text. We will extract the ideology, we will destroy the ideology, and we will establish the integration of the text. We are inside, and we have to do is the calculus of this complexity. I have finished with quite a beautiful image of my friend Calvino. Calvino said, well, we are all prisoners inside the Chateau d'If. You remember the story of Count of Monte Cristo. You are inside, and you make a calculus. We need also we want to escape. But the problem of escaping is a problem of calculus. But you are part of the process too. And this reflexive condition, hermeneutic condition, is the condition you have to accept, in which you have to work for transforming this condition. There is no more distance from outside the history, from judging the history and deciding that this is the object and this is not. This is the reason, because we work on text, but without hope of definite ideological judgment of the text. I know it's a pity. I know that means we have no more than dry dreams from the 60s and 70s, but also the necessity to accept that there is not just intellectual relationship to professors and texts, but a moving world in which we have to accept some terrific and terrifying lesson from this.